Fisher's aircraft was struck 19 times. In the face of fire, he applied power and took off at the overrun airstrip. It is for the risking of his life above the call of duty that I am proud to honor and remember the actions of Colonel Bernard Francis Fisher.
Lieutenant Thomas G. Kelly was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions and going above and beyond the call of duty against the enemy in Vietnam. Lieutenant Kelly was in charge of a column of 8 river assault aircrafts which were extracting one company of U.S. Army infantry troops on the east bank of the Ong Muong Canal in Quien Hoa Province, when one of the armored troop carriers reported a mechanical failure of a loading ramp. At approximately the same time, Viet Cong forces opened fire from the opposite bank of the canal. After issuing orders for the crippled troop carrier to raise its ramp manually and for the remaining boats to form a protective cordon around the disabled craft, Lieutenant Commander Kelly, realizing the extreme danger to his column and its inability to clear the ambush site until the crippled unit was repaired, boldly maneuvered the monitor in which he was embarked to the exposed side of the protective cordon in direct line with the enemy's fire, and he ordered the monitor to commence firing. Sustaining serious head wounds from the blast which hurled him to the deck of the monitor, Lieutenant Commander Kelly disregarded his severe injuries and attempted to continue directing the other boats. It is for his courage and unwavering devotion to duty that I am proud to honor and remember the actions of Lieutenant Thomas G. Kelly.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today and also ask to submit this for the record on behalf of my colleague, Mr. Stivers from Ohio, to honor the heroic efforts of Master Sergeant Ronald Eugene Rosser of the United States Army. Master Sergeant Rosser was serving with the 2nd Infantry Division and received his Medal of Honor for conspicuous gallantry in action on January 12, 1952 in Korea. When Master Sergeant Rosser's platoon came under heavy enemy fire from 2 sides, he charged the enemy's positions, taking the hill and killing 7. Master Sergeant Rosser then descended to rearm and retake the hill once more while eliminating enemies along the way. After he had taken the hill a 3rd time and killed at least 13, Master Sergeant Rosser helped retrieve the wounded men and make a successful withdrawal. It is for his gallant actions and courageous and selfless devotion to duty that I am proud to honor and remember the actions of Master Sergeant Ronald Eugene Prosser.
It is on behalf of my colleague from California, Alan Lowenthal, that I am proud to honor 2 of his constituents who have been recipients of this prestigious Medal of Honor. The first is Corporal Tibor Rubin, who served the United States Army with the 1st Cavalry Division and received his Medal of Honor from his actions on July 23, 1950 to April 20, 1953 in Korea. While the regiment was withdrawing, Corporal Rubin single-handedly held off enemy charges, allowing the 8th Cavalry to complete its withdrawal. On October 30th, a number of Chinese forces mounted an assault on Corporal Rubin's unit. He maintained his firing position until he had exhausted all of his ammunition. Although inflicting heavy casualties on the enemy, Corporal Rubin was eventually captured. While in prison camp, however, the corporal continued his resistance and selflessness by caring for his sick comrades. Also from Congressman Lowenthal's district is one of our heroes, 2nd Lieutenant Walter David Ehlers. He served with the 1st Infantry Division of the United States Army and was awarded the Medal of Honor for his service in France. 2nd Lieutenant Ehlers was part of the 2nd wave on D-Day. When the 1st wave became pinned down, his unit was sent forward to assist. On June 9th, he led his unit's attack against German forces and defeated several enemy machine gun nests. The very next day, his platoon came under heavy fire, and he single-handedly diverted enemy fire so his fellow servicemen could withdraw. Despite being wounded, 2nd Lieutenant Ehlers carried another wounded rifleman to safety. Even after he was treated, he refused to be evacuated so that he could return to leading his squad. It's for his display of indomitable courage that I'm so proud to honor and remember the actions of 2nd Lieutenant Walter David Ehlers.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on behalf of my colleague from the great state of Oregon, Mr. Walden, and ask that this be submitted for the record on behalf of him to honor Technician 5th Grade Robert Dale Maxwell of the United States Army. Technician 5th Grade Maxwell was in 3rd Infantry Division and was awarded the Medal of Honor for supreme bravery in action on September 7, 1944 in France. Technician 5th Grade Maxwell and 3 others, armed only with .45 caliber sidearms, defended the battalion headquarters against an overwhelming onslaught by an enemy platoon. Despite withering enemy fire, Maxwell aggressively fought off the advancing enemy and inspired his fellow soldiers to continue. When an enemy hand grenade landed among the squad, Mr. Maxwell unhesitatingly hurled himself upon it, using his blanket and body to absorb the full force of the explosion. The act of incredible heroism permanently maimed Technician 5th Grade Maxwell, but saved the lives of his comrades and enabled vital communications to continue during the withdrawal from headquarters. It is for his valiant efforts and relentless spirit that I am proud to honor and remember the actions of Technician 5th Grade Robert Dale Maxwell.
Captain Thomas Jerome Hudner, Jr. served the United States Navy's Fighter Squadron 32 and was awarded the Medal of Honor for his brave actions on December 4, 1950 in the air over Korea. When Captain Hudner's wingman was shot from the air and crash-landed behind enemy lines, he courageously circled his comrade and attempted to fight off enemy advancing on his wingman's position. Upon noticing that his wingman was stuck in his burning plane, Captain Hudner crash-landed his own plane into the rough mountains and in close proximity of the enemy's position in an attempt to save his buddy. Captain Hudner ran to his wingman's position and attempted to free him from the burning wreckage. Unable to free him, Captain Hudner returned to his aircraft to call in a rescue helicopter and support personnel. It is for his exceptionally valiant actions that I'm proud to honor and remember the actions of Captain Thomas Jerome Hudner, Jr.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the bravery and courage of Sergeant Gary Burnell Bykirch of the United States Army. Sergeant Bykirch was with the 1st Special Forces and was awarded the Medal of Honor for extreme gallantry in action on April 1, 1970 in Vietnam. When an enemy force launched an attack, the Allied defenders suffered a multitude of casualties. Without regard for his own well-being, Sergeant Bykirch sprinted from position to position to treat the wounded servicemen. Upon receiving notice that an American officer had been wounded and left exposed, Sergeant Bykirch charged through enemy fire and carried the officer to safety. Instead of allowing for his own wounds to be treated, Sergeant Bykirch ran continuously between the aid station and the field of battle to retrieve the wounded. It is for his complete and utter devotion to the welfare of his fellow soldiers that I am proud to honor the actions tonight of Sergeant Gary Burnell Bykirch.
Lieutenant General Robert Franklin Foley served in the United States Army, where he received the Medal of Honor for leading his unit, Company A, 2nd Battalion, 27th Infantry, 25th Division, on November 5, 1966, in the Republic of Vietnam. While moving to aid a besieged unit, Lieutenant General Foley's company clashed with a strong enemy defense post. Lieutenant General Foley, directing 3 platoons, was able to attend to wounded soldiers while advancing them. Coming under intense fire, the Lieutenant General alone continued to advance until the wounded had been evacuated. Then, after being struck by a grenade himself, Lieutenant General Foley refused medical aid and then led an assault to destroy 3 enemy positions. It is for his outstanding leadership and selflessness that I'm so proud to honor and remember the actions of Lieutenant General Robert Franklin Foley.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor the supreme heroism of Colonel Harvey Curtis Barnum, Jr. of the United States Marine Corps. Colonel Barnum was with the 3rd Marine Division and was awarded the Medal of Honor for conspicuous gallantry in action on December 18, 1965 in Vietnam. Colonel Barnum's company became pinned down by enemy fire. Upon discovering the company commander and radio operator were seriously wounded, he took control of the radio and assumed command of the rifle company. Colonel Barnum began positioning the men into firing positions and began identifying targets to engage. Behind his leadership, the units maintained their composure in the face of extreme danger and positional disadvantage. Colonel Barnum took point and led the platoon on a successful counterattack, eliminating key positions and evacuated the wounded. It is for his extraordinary courage that I am proud to stand here to honor and remember the actions of Colonel Harvey Curtis Barnum, Jr.
Colonel Gordon Ray Roberts was a rifleman in the 101st Airborne Division and was awarded the Medal of Honor for his service on July 11, 1969 in Vietnam. Colonel Roberts' platoon was sent to provide assistance to a sister company. When his platoon became pinned down by heavy gun and grenade fire, Colonel Roberts, with utter disregard for his own well-being, charged forward beyond the perimeter and safety of his unit. Without fear or concern, Colonel Roberts eliminated 4 enemy positions and linked up with the imperiled company. He assisted with evacuating the wounded and supervised the withdrawal from the position before returning to his own unit. It is for his gallant and selfless actions, contributing directly to saving the lives of his fellow soldiers, that I am proud to honor and remember the actions of Colonel Gordon Ray Roberts.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor Lieutenant James McGinty III of the United States Marine Corps, who is from Beaufort, South Carolina. Lieutenant McGinty was with Company K and was awarded the Medal of Honor for his gallantry in action as a platoon leader on July 18, 1966 in Vietnam. While providing rear security to guard the withdrawal of the battalion, Lieutenant McGinty's 32-man platoon came under heavy fire. During the barrage, 2 of McGinty's squads became separated. Disregarding his own safety, McGinty ran through automatic weapons and mortar fire to convene with the separated squads. Upon arriving, he found 20 men wounded and the medical corpsman killed. He quickly reloaded ammunition for the wounded men, and though wounded, continued to encourage his troops and direct their fire. Through multiple close encounters, Lieutenant McGinty was able to adjust artillery and effectively fight off the enemy. It is for his indomitable heroism and devotion to duty that I am proud to honor and remember the actions of Lieutenant John James McGinty III. Mr. Speaker, I want to recognize Ms. Gabbard for some closing comments.
Thank you.
And reserve the balance of my time.
It has truly been a privilege and a high note of my service as a member of Congress to be able to stand here with my friend and colleague, Congressman Davis, to be able to read the highlights of the courageous actions of heroes whose service has allowed us to be here today. This is a moment that I will never forget, a moment that I look forward to sharing with many of my battle buddies, my service members back home, and it's a time for us to reflect. As we've heard through reading through these courageous actions, it's like reading through a storybook. These are the actions of heroes and legends that maybe we imagined as children, but to know that these are living heroes who not only put their lives on the line in the service of our country overseas, but have come home and continued that service, who have only accepted this Medal of Honor in a humble way and to honor those who did not make it home. I look forward to us in our work here in Congress to be able to live up to the standard that they have set and to honor their service and sacrifice as we do our best working in the People's House to serve our country. I yield back.
Thank you. This would not have happened without great people helping to put this information together to honor these true heroes. I want to thank some folks who have worked with me: Nick Cazzo, Jordan Wellinghoff, Catherine Ayers, Sean T. Pant, and Jenny Baldwin, Drew Collins, Frank Santana, and Osborne Crosby, among many others that I'm sure I'm going to forget to mention tonight. But remember, this is an honor tonight where we are not Republicans, we are not Democrats, we are Americans coming together to honor in a bipartisan fashion 79 individuals who fought to protect the freedoms that we enjoy, to be able to stand here on this House, to stand here in freedom, to be Americans and to govern. It is with great pride that I was able to be joined tonight by my colleague, my friend, Tulsi Gabbard, also a member of our military today. Thank you for your service, Tulsi. Thank you for your service to your country here, and thank you for your service to our country as a member of the Hawaii National Guard. It is with great privilege that I was honored to stand here tonight to recognize so many true American heroes, and it's a privilege that I will never forget throughout my career, and I yield back the balance of my time, if I have any, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman yields back. The chair lays before the House the following message.
To the Congress of the United States, Section 202D of the National Emergencies Act provides for the automatic termination of a national emergency unless within 90 days prior to the anniversary date of its declaration, the President publishes in the Federal Register and transmits to the Congress a notice stating that the emergency is to continue in effect beyond the anniversary date. In accordance with this provision, I have sent to the Federal Register for publication the enclosed notice stating that the national emergency with respect to persons who commit, threaten to commit, or support terrorism declared in Executive Order 13224 of September 23, 2001 is to continue in effect beyond September 23, 2013. The crisis constituted by the grave acts of terrorism and threats of terrorism committed by foreign terrorists, including the terrorist attacks on September 11, 2001 in New York and Pennsylvania and against the Pentagon, and the continuing and immediate threat of further attacks on United States nationals or the United States that led to the declaration of a national emergency on September 23, 2001 has not been resolved. These actions continue to pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. For this reason, I have determined that it is necessary to continue the national emergency declared in Executive Order 13224 with respect to persons who commit, threaten to commit, or support terrorism. Signed, Barack Obama, the White House.
Referred to the Committee on Foreign Affairs and ordered printed. The Chair lays before the House the following message.
To the Congress of the United States, I am pleased to transmit to the Congress, consistent with Sections 123 and 144B of the Atomic Energy Act as amended, the text of the agreement between the parties to the North Atlantic Treaty for Cooperation regarding Atomic Information, including a technical annex and security annex, hereinafter collectively referred to as the Atomic Agreement, as a proposed agreement for cooperation authorizing the exchange of U.S. restricted data and formerly restricted data within the context of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, between the United States of America and the following member of NATO, the Republic of Croatia, hereinafter the new party. In addition, I am pleased to transmit my written approval, authorization, and determination concerning the Atomic Agreement with respect to the new party, with a copy of the memorandum of the Secretary of Defense with respect to the agreement. The Atomic Agreement entered into force on March 12, 1965, with respect to the United States and the other NATO members at that time: the Czech Republic, the Republic of Hungary, the Republic of Poland, Spain, the Republic of Bulgaria, the Republic of Estonia, the Republic of Latvia, the Republic of Lithuania, Romania, the Slovak Republic, and the Republic of Slovenia subsequently became parties to the Atomic Agreement. The new party has signed this agreement and has indicated its willingness to be bound by it. The Atomic Agreement with respect to the new party meets the requirements of the Atomic Energy Act of 1954 as amended. Although the Atomic Agreement continues in force with respect to the United States and the other current parties to it, it will not become effective as an agreement for cooperation authorizing the exchange of atomic information with respect to the new party until completion of procedures prescribed by Sections 123 and 144B of the Atomic Energy Act of 1954 as amended. The 60-day continuous session period provided for in Section 123 begins upon receipt of this submission. Signed, Barack Obama, the White House.
Referred to the Committee on Foreign Affairs and ordered printed. Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 3, 2013, the gentleman from California, Mr. Cardenas, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And it is a great honor to be here on the floor to speak to America and those around the world who watch and understand all that we try to do on this Congress. It gives me great pleasure and honor to speak tonight about a very important issue that faces America, but is just as important to people from all over the world. The United States of America is the country where dreams come true. And it's not hard to see that citizenship is the cornerstone of that American dream. We're a nation of immigrants, and immigration remains one of the great strengths of our great nation. Yesterday, we celebrated Citizenship Day, and were reminded of the important contributions immigrants have made to America, immigrants from all over the world. As Congress continues to delay the passage of comprehensive immigration reform, we're again reminded that the inclusion of a pathway to citizenship is essential to ensuring that all immigrants are able to fully contribute to our economy, workforce, and to our communities. One of the major reasons that we have so many undocumented workers in this great nation is because our legal immigration system is broken. We should work as hard as possible to ensure that hard-working men and women who simply want to live the American dream can do so, and that they can do so as American citizens. What happens when immigrants are able to become citizens rather than just seeing their immigration status legalized? The answer is simple. We, all of us in America, will have a stronger and more integrated nation, a stronger economy, and stronger communities. The economic benefits of citizenship are undeniable. Research shows failure to include a path to citizenship would have significant economic costs in terms of lost opportunity for growth, earnings, tax revenues, and jobs for Americans. Providing only legal status with no pathway to citizenship would result in $568 billion less in national productivity and $321 billion less in total income. 820,000 fewer total jobs would be created, and federal and state governments would lose out on $75 billion in additional tax revenue, according to outside estimates. Refusing immigrants the opportunity to become U.S. citizens hurts America. It hurts Americans as well. It hurts our economic interests as a country. I want to fix our immigration system and to give those who are willing to work hard for this nation and sacrifice of themselves an opportunity to do so as Americans. This is why I will continue to work with Democrats, Republicans, and anyone willing to listen to pass an immigration reform bill that is comprehensive and includes a path to citizenship. At this time, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce Congressman Steny Hoyer, the minority whip from Maryland. Maryland is one of the earliest states where immigrants landed. Even your state, Congressman Hoyer, has a flag that represents two of those immigrants and their contributions to Maryland, correct?
I thank the gentleman for yielding. He is absolutely correct, of course. The Maryland flag, which I think is one of the more distinctive state flags, has four quadrants, two of which represent the Baltimore family, to which the royal charter was given, as the gentleman observed, and two represent the Crossland family, which was the wife of Lord Baltimore. And so I appreciate the gentleman referring to that. Of course, all of us live in states that were started by immigrants. Mr. Speaker, I rise to join my friend, Representative Cardenas, and other distinguished members who are here tonight to pay tribute to the immigrant heritage of our country. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome, wrote the poet Emma Lazarus. She went on with her poem to say, "Keep ancient lands your storied pomp," cries she with silent lips. "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shores. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." That, of course, iconic image we see so often is a symbol of America's welcome to those who would participate in making it better. But the poet was wrong It was not the wretched refuse of the teeming shores that came to America. It was some of the most risk-taking, courageous, entrepreneurial people. It took courage to leave their land, to leave their language, and to come to America. But because they had ambition and vision and hope, they came. And they helped to build the greatest nation the world has ever seen. Those words engraved on the Statue of Liberty are a creed with which our nation must always keep faith. For Americans, citizenship means more than belonging to a place. It represents a sacred bond not only between those who carry it, but a sacred duty to make sure others can earn it who share our devotion to liberty and justice for all. Yes, those immigrants, they believed that declaration intoning pursuit of happiness. What a wonderful concept that we hold these truths to be self-evident. Pursuit of happiness is one of those values that we hold forth to all the world. You know, we hear a lot of talk, Mr. Speaker, on this floor and in our national discourse about what makes America exceptional, about what makes us unique and special among the nations of the world. The answer, I believe, is that we have brought together the best of all the nations of the world. Those who come seeking shelter on our shores do so because they want to work hard to succeed. They're willing to take the risk of leaving all that they know just for a chance to make it in America. That is why the Congress must pursue, Mr. Speaker, comprehensive immigration reform that includes a path to citizenship. That includes a path to citizenship. Mr. Speaker, 40% of all the Nobel Prize winners in America were born on foreign shores. They came here, contributed here, excelled here, and made our country better. Those who have come here to build a strong America, and those who were brought here as children and have known no other home, deserve a chance to keep contributing to this country through their hard work and their service to our communities. Mr. Speaker, I am the son of an immigrant from Denmark. Serving with me in this chamber are the sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, great-grandsons and great-granddaughters, and yes, even more generations before. Grandsons of immigrants from Mexico, from Italy, from China, from Africa, from Eastern Europe, from the Caribbean, from Asia, indeed from every land in this world. In marking Citizenship Day, which was yesterday, it is up to us to make sure that our exceptional American idea of citizenship continues to manifest itself as an extended hand to all who love freedom, are committed to justice, and wish to build a strong America for all its people. Comprehensive immigration reform will enable us, as it has in the past, to keep that hand extended and bring into our society and economy those who believe in the power of the American dream. Mr. Speaker, let us work together, not as Democrats and Republicans, but as fellow immigrants, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, however many generations. We are the children of immigrants. Let us work together to fix our immigration system and ensure that the lamp beside the golden door continues to shine its light to enrich our nation and continue to offer hope and inspiration for all the world. I want to thank my colleague, Tony Cardenas, from California. He's a new member, but an extraordinarily experienced member. He knows about immigration firsthand. I want to thank him for taking this special order, because it is important for America to keep that lamp lifted. And to do so, Mr. Speaker, we need, as Mr. Cardenas has said, to pass a comprehensive immigration bill. And, Mr. Speaker, we ought to pass it this year. And I thank the gentleman for taking the time. I thank the gentleman for yielding me the time. And I yield back the time to the gentleman.
Thank you very much, Congressman Hoyer. And I appreciate those eloquent words, and also the fact that you pointed out that you are definitely a proud American, yet at the same time you're proud to say that you're the son of immigrants. And that's a beautiful thing for us to welcome and embrace in this country, and I hope and pray that we do in fact pass comprehensive immigration reform and pass it soon. So thank you so much for your leadership. Next, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to invite to share a few words with all of us is my colleague Mark Vesey from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. Congressman Vesey, I know Texas is a state of proud patriots, and they must have been very proud when we read from the Constitution earlier this year at the beginning of our session. That document is the basis of a lot of what makes our country so appealing to those people from all over the world who want to come here and contribute to this great nation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what being a citizen is like and what it means to you and the folks in your district, and many of whom protect and defend our great nation?
Congressman Cardenas, thank you very much for doing this. I would like to thank my friend from the Golden State of California for leading this important discussion. And I'm also very proud that this is a very diverse group that is here today to talk about the importance of citizenship and diversity. As it was pointed out a minute ago, Steny Hoyer, our whip, he is talked about his background and him being a first-generation American, and so many of the contributions and so many of the things that make America what it is today. It is because of immigrants, and this discussion is very important. And Congressman Hoyer is right. We need to pass a comprehensive immigration reform bill because it's the right thing to do. When you talk about the growth, and you look at the growth domestic product, U.S. personal income, I can tell you in my own personal state of Texas what immigrants mean to our vibrant economy. We have so many people that are moving to our state every day, and much of that success that we are experiencing in Texas, the Lone Star State, particularly in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, is because of immigrant growth. And this week we celebrate 226 years since the U.S. Constitutional Convention was signed into law. Since that time, America's Constitution has been seen as the backbone for the rights and freedoms of all U.S. citizens. The U.S. Constitution is the epitome of what it means to be an American citizen in our country. September the 17th, the day it was adopted, is a day to celebrate what this document means for those who have become or who aspire to be U.S. citizens. Throughout our nation's history, immigrants have embraced the spirit of liberty, justice, and equality for all. These are the same principles that guided the framers of the Constitution as they built a stronger republic. The Founding Fathers felt that the people who immigrated and spent years building lives in this country deserved citizenship. We should have that same spirit today in this body. They were keenly aware that making new immigrants wait a long time for citizenship denied them the very rights that Americans had just fought to claim for themselves. By guaranteeing a uniform rule of naturalization, the Constitution presupposes an immigrant nation. Let's join the framers by pledging to support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America. Each year during the following Citizenship Day, we recognize the newest members of the American family as they pledge allegiance to our Constitution and naturalization ceremonies across our great country. This week, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services will welcome over 18,000 new U.S. citizens during more than 180 naturalization ceremonies held across the country. As thousands take their first step towards the American dream, we must all recognize the obstacles that still exist for so many others who long to contribute to the next chapter of America's story. The steps towards becoming a citizen are riddled with difficult, confusing, and very, very expensive hurdles. In addition to the cost and bureaucracy, there are also some individuals in the community preying on immigrants, taking their money and telling them they are guaranteed citizenship. Our national economic, social, and cultural vibrancy are the direct result of labor and efforts of generations of immigrants. According to the Center for Study of Immigrant Integration at the University of Southern California, income rises an average of 8 to 11% when immigrants become citizens. Delaying and ignoring real problems in our broken immigration system for political purposes has not brought solutions. It's only brought heartache for the many families who wish to assimilate and make America stronger. In the spirit of Citizenship Day, I stand with my colleagues to recognize the many benefits that immigrants bring to the United States of America. Ms. Velasquez Acosta came to this country from El Salvador and became a naturalized U.S. citizen. Now her son Sam works in the office of a member of the United States House of Representatives. In fact, he serves the constituents of the 33rd Congressional District in the congressional office that I represent. He is a truly a living person that can tell you the benefits of immigration, he and his family. And I believe that there is a level of optimism because I see it in Sam and I see it in so many others who reside in the 33rd Congressional District, a level of optimism that immigrants have historically brought to this country and to our state. When you bring new people into the American family, you energize and get others involved. We must focus on the urgency of helping the almost 9 million legal permanent residents who are eligible for citizenship in this country. We must help them take those final steps towards the American dream so they can fully become a part of the democratic process. That's what it's all about. Today we must rededicate ourselves to pass comprehensive immigration reform. This fair, common-sense system would include a pathway to citizenship for those here now, a family reunification system, and a market-based structure that meets legitimate labor needs, protecting both the interests of American workers and industry. As a nation of immigrants, let us celebrate the long line of aspiring citizens who have had a positive impact on our history. Immigrants have enriched our character, contributed to our economy by founding businesses and creating jobs, and have sacrificed their livelihoods so that they could defend our freedoms and secure a brighter future for our children. The man who signed our Constitution 226 years ago envisioned the United States as a land of opportunity. Today, as legislators, we are charged with building on that same vision, and our nation will be stronger for it. I yield back the balance of my time and thank my friend from California for using this time to talk about something that is so important to our country. We can no longer wait. The time is now. Thank you, Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much, Congressman Vesey, and thank you for sharing those words with all of us. Mr. Speaker, next I'd like to introduce Kirsten Sinema from Arizona. She knows what dreams are made of and what it takes to be participant in making those dreams come true. Kirsten?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Cardenas, for holding this event this evening. I appreciate the time. You know, many others who will be speaking this evening will spend time talking about the numbers or the benefits of changing our immigration laws in our country. I'm going to tell just one brief story about my district. When I was elected to Congress earlier this year, I was invited, as many members of Congress are, to address and welcome newly sworn-in citizens. And as the swearing-in ceremony was happening on a day that I was in Washington, a member of my team back in Phoenix joined that citizenship ceremony and spoke on my behalf. And after the event was over, I asked her how it went. It was her first time speaking publicly on behalf of our office, and I asked her what it was like. And she answered by telling me about her experience. You see, the staffer who went to the citizenship ceremony on my behalf is a young woman named Erica Andiola. Erica Andiola is a dreamer. She was born in Mexico and brought to this country as a young person. She went to junior high and high school in Phoenix, Arizona. She later went to Arizona State University and graduated with high honors. And she now works for me in my office as an outreach director. Erica spoke to the individuals who had just become citizens at this citizenship ceremony and welcomed them as new citizens to our country. And what she said to me afterwards was that one day she hopes to sit in that citizenship ceremony herself and to become a citizen of these United States. Mr. Cardenas, members of the 9th District, fellow citizens of this country, this is the reason we must get to immigration reform. Young people like Erica Andiola have lived in this United States for almost their entire lives and know no other country. And while they watch others become citizens, they still dream for that day themselves. Mr. Cardenas, we must make that happen for Erica. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Sinema. Next, I would like to invite to share a few words with all of us is Congressman O'Rourke from Texas. Congressman, a lot of us have talked about citizenship and what it means when you raise your hand and swear allegiance to this country, and the many ways that immigrants have contributed to our great nation. But for you, I think it touches a little closer to home. I've heard there's a new American citizen in your district and who has made a major contribution to your congressional office. Can you share with us that story?
Mr. Speaker, I'm very honored to be here today to speak on the topic of immigration reform that is humane, that is rational, that is fiscally responsible, and to be doing so with the guidance and leadership of Congressman Cardenas, my friend from California, who, despite his short tenure in Congress, has really emerged as a leader on this very important issue, important to me, important to the community I represent in El Paso, Texas, important to our state, and important to our country. And frankly, just to extend it one more time, important to the world, because I think the world's eyes are on us today. They're on us as we decide how we're going to respond to this opportunity, this once in a 20 or 30-year opportunity to make meaningful, positive changes in our broken immigration system. Because as Steny Hoyer said earlier, we are proudly a nation of immigrants. And I'm sure it is this way for the gentleman from California, but for me, the moral and ethical reasons are the most compelling, to do the right thing for those people who are already in our communities, for the people who have so much to offer, who have yet to come to our shores and will add to the economy, to the civic strength of our communities, and make the places that we live in and the country that we call home a better place. I think of Edgar Falcone, a constituent of mine, a U.S. citizen, who is working, and while he's working, he's also going to nursing school to improve his life, his ability to compete in the marketplace, his opportunity to contribute back to the community that we live in, and to complete his life beyond his education and his work and everything that he's done in the community. He wants to marry the woman of his dreams, a woman named Mari Cruz, who currently lives in Durango, in Mexico, who would love to be here with the man that she loves. But unfortunately, because of our current broken immigration system, she's unable to live here in the United States with the man that she loves. He's unable to bring her here because when she was a child, her sister, while they were crossing into the United States, falsely claimed citizenship for the both of them. Under our current broken immigration system, that has earned her a lifetime ban and re-entry to the United States. So despite the fact that an American citizen, someone I represent, someone who pays taxes into our government, someone who is by all measures doing everything he can to make our community and our country a better place, he cannot be with the woman he loves because of what I think to be a very arbitrary and unhelpful law that is separating two people who deeply love each other. What we need to do is correct this through comprehensive immigration reform and through a measure that we'll be introducing this week the American Families United Act that will allow judges some level of discretion in cases like these where we have someone who poses no threat to our country, who can pay a fine, do some sort of penance for a mistake they made or a family member made on their behalf. And then if it makes sense for our community and our security is secured, they are able to join our community, the person that they want to marry, a U.S. citizen. And so I hope that we'll have others who will join us in co-sponsoring this legislation that we'll introduce this week, because there are literally thousands upon thousands of American families, families of U.S. citizens who are affected negatively by this immigration law. And as I said earlier, we want to do the right thing for the right reasons, for the moral imperative. Coming from El Paso, Texas, we really have been the Ellis Island for much of Latin America, including Mexico. So the people who came through our ports of entry ended up in Los Angeles. They ended up in California. They went to Chicago. They went to New York. They went to all points east, west, and north, and then many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands chose to stay in El Paso. And it is because of those immigrants, both legal and unauthorized immigrants, I would argue, that El Paso today is the safest city in the United States. It was the safest city last year as well. It was the safest city the year before that. And for the last 10 years, El Paso has been one of the top 5 safest cities in the United States. So when we hear people who, I think out of ignorance, say that we need to secure the border before we move forward with comprehensive immigration reform, I tell them that today we're spending $18 billion on border security, more than we're spending on all other federal law enforcement agencies combined, that we've built hundreds of miles of fencing, that net migration last year from Mexico was actually 0, that El Paso is the safest city, San Diego is the second safest. The U.S. side of the U.S.-Mexico border compared to the rest of the country is far safer. We do not have a border security problem today. The border has never been more secure or more safe. For all of those reasons, all of the moral ones and all of the common sense ones that I just cited, we should do the right thing. And yet, that is not enough for some people. So I will conclude by saying this. It is in our moral interests as a country that wants to do the right thing. It makes all the common sense in the world to do the right thing. But if we look at our economic self-interest, today it's already proven that immigrants, including unauthorized immigrants, contribute far more to our economy. They contribute far more to our tax base. They contribute far more to job opportunities and quality of life than they take in benefits. That is, I think, been proven beyond the shadow of a doubt. What we also know is that if some form of the current proposal for comprehensive immigration reform passes, the CBO has scored it such that within the first 10 years, these new immigrants to our country who will be on a path to citizenship will be able to reduce our deficit by more than $150 billion. In the next 10 years, those same immigrants will reduce our deficit an additional $800 to $900 billion. They'll also be contributors into Social Security, one of the pillars of our social safety net, one that is unable to meet its obligations in the not-too-distant future. This is surely going to help us to shore up Social Security as well. So whether we look at the moral dynamic, whether we look at what makes common sense for our communities and our country, or whether we look at our economic self-interest, comprehensive immigration reform that is rational, that is humane, and that is fiscally responsible makes sense for this country. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back to the good man from California.
Thank you very much, Congressman O'Rourke. We appreciate the opportunity to hear the perspective from your part of Texas and our great country. Next, I'd like to welcome and talk a little bit with Congressman Bill Foster of Illinois a little bit right now. And Congressman Foster, part of the American dream is owning a home. I myself was a real estate broker before getting involved in elected office, and I know that it's tough for those people who want to own a home if they don't have their documentation in order or their citizenship in order. And we have a lot of vacant homes around the country, and I know we have some in your district and in my district. Do you think that more American citizens working hard and contributing to our economy would help our home buying market?
Well, thank you. And Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to rise today to highlight the many important contributions that immigrants make to our nation and our economy, to our scientific progress, and to say a few special words on the positive impact that comprehensive immigration reform will have on the real estate market in our country. We are a nation of immigrants. Many of us are second or third generation Americans, and we have all benefited from the sacrifices that our ancestors made in search of a better life in America. In fact, my wife is a first generation Asian American who came to the United States to pursue her education and was able to become a legal immigrant and a citizen and a PhD, in fact, but who knows that even our legal immigration system does not work as well as it should. Every day, families come to this country in search of the American dream, better jobs, a better education, and a better life for their families. And I am proud to represent many of these families, but would like to share just one incredible story of one of my constituents, Juventino Cano. Growing up, Juventino lived in a farm in Colima, Mexico, with his parents and 6 brothers and sisters. Their home didn't have lights or electricity, and they all worked long hours on the family farm to make ends meet. When he was 17 years old, his stepbrothers encouraged him to come to Aurora, Illinois, and told him about the wonderful opportunities that awaited him in America. He was able to get a job with his stepbrothers at a packaging company. And by 1986, Juventino not only held a steady job and had learned English, but he had opened his own company, Cano Container Corporation, in Aurora, Illinois. And what started with a single machine and 3 employees has now grown into a company with over $20 million a year in annual sales. Today, not only is Juventino the president and CEO of the Cano Container Company, he also serves on the board of directors of the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and as the president and of the board of directors of the Aurora Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. The Cano Container Company has also received its share of accolades, including being named the Minority Manufacturer of the Year by the United States Department of Commerce in 2007. The city and the economy of Aurora, Illinois have greatly benefited from Juventino's many contributions to the community. His story reminds us that immigration reform is good for economic growth. More than 40% of Fortune 500 companies were founded by immigrants or children of immigrants. These American companies represent 7 of the 10 most valuable brands in the world and collectively employ more than 10 million people and generate annual revenue of $4.2 trillion. That's a quarter of our economy. Additionally, immigrants have a huge impact on our housing market, and passage of comprehensive immigration reform will have a huge positive impact on our still recovering real estate markets. A study from Harvard University found that in recent years, foreign-born households accounted for 30% of the overall growth in the housing sector. According to the 2012 State of Hispanic Home Ownership Report, it is likely that comprehensive immigration reform would generate 3 million new Hispanic home buyers over the next several years. Every day that we fail to pass comprehensive immigration reform, we are forfeiting millions of dollars of economic growth and tax revenue and slowing the recovery of our housing markets. If we pass immigration reform that provides a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, it would include increased state and local tax collections by almost $150 million a year in Illinois alone. On the other hand, if all unauthorized immigrants were removed from Illinois, the state would lose $25.6 billion in economic activity, $11.4 billion in gross state product, and approximately 120,000 jobs. As a scientist, I've also seen firsthand the valuable contributions that immigrants make. For 20 years, I worked as a physicist at Fermi National Accelerator Lab in Illinois. And every day the flags from dozens of countries flew outside the facilities, representing the nationalities of all the scientists performing experiments at Fermilab. Thousands of students from other countries have come to the U.S. to get their PhDs and training at our research facilities. And it has been the policy of our country to turn most of them away when the work is done and their education is complete. While this may have made sense in the years after World War II, when we were trying to avoid the brain drain from countries trying to rebuild themselves, times have changed. The economic winds are now blowing in both directions, and we need to stop pushing our accomplished scientists and researchers out of our country and instead encourage them to stay here and to build businesses, expand their research, and help grow our economy. The comprehensive immigration bill passed by the Senate does exactly that. It encourages the best and brightest scientists and researchers to stay here to add to our economy and our R&D capabilities. So as we contemplate a pathway to citizenship for the 11 million undocumented immigrants and consider reforming our legal immigration system, let's remember all of the contributions that immigrants past and present have made to our country. Our nation has a long and proud history of welcoming immigrants in search of a better life for themselves and their families, but our current immigration system is broken. And we now have a historic opportunity to bring 11 million people out of the shadows. We have to remember that at any moment we are just 5 days away from passing immigration reform and having it be the law of the land. All it will take is for Speaker Boehner to wake up one morning and listen to the voices of his church, listen to the voices of the chambers of commerce, listen to the voices of business and ordinary people all over this country, and decide to bring the Senate immigration bill up for a vote, where it will pass with a bipartisan majority and be signed into law by the President. This would be a historic moment and exactly the kind of bipartisanship that people expect from their elected representatives. So if and when Speaker Boehner decides to act and allow the House a vote to pass the Senate immigration bill, we would boost our economy, including our real estate markets, and reduce our national debt, and most importantly, bring 11 million people out of the shadows. We cannot let this opportunity pass us by. Thank you, and I'm happy to yield back.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to invite to say a few words Congresswoman Lois Capps. Congresswoman, both of us are from California, and we've seen the incredible impact that immigrants have made in our great state of California. Recognizing those contributions is not a partisan matter for us in California now, is it? One thing that I'd like you to share with us, please, is your perspective on whether or not this is a partisan issue or not.
Thank you very, very much to my colleague from California, Tony Cardenas. And yes, I do have a letter that I will share, but I want to discuss the matter in general first. And so I thank the Speaker for convening this hour. I thank my colleague for organizing all of us to address a topic of central importance to our state of California, several of us here, but also to the entire country. I join my colleagues in strong support for comprehensive immigration reform. We honor the many contributions that immigrants have made to our country during Citizenship Day this week. But we cannot forget the millions of immigrants left behind by our broken immigration system. These are the immigrants who contribute to key sectors of our economy. They are such a vital part of agriculture, of housing, of manufacturing, retail, hospitality, tourism, engineering, technology, and on and on. These are hard-working people, immigrants who often face separation from their families, lower wages, and face the fear of deportation, and this forces them to take their skills often to our competitors at great disadvantage to our own economy. We can all agree that our current immigration system is not working. It's holding back our country and our economy, and now is the time to fix it. While I've been traveling in my congressional district, I've heard personally from business sectors of our economy on the Central Coast of California hurt on a daily basis by this broken immigration system. There are high-tech companies in Goleta, California, frustrated by seeing many of our brightest UC Santa Barbara graduates being sent back to their native country to work for competitive companies and countries because of a lack of high-skilled worker visas. I've met with growers in California's agriculture industry, so important in my local economy, critical to our national economy, who struggle to find a stable and a consistent workforce. This threatens the sustainability of our crops. I've met with workforce and labor organizations who want to ensure workers can earn fair wages and contribute to our economy and our communities. We must act now to establish a fair but tough pathway to citizenship to provide the security and stability our economy needs. And I refer again to the chart, which indicates so graphically the difference between a path to legalization only and the strong advantages of that pathway to citizenship. Comprehensive reform would boost California's economy alone by $7.3 billion. It would create nearly 77,000 new jobs in our state of California just next year. This should be one of our nation's top priorities. Mr. Speaker, I would also note for the record that while members of my party are very enthusiastic about advancing comprehensive immigration reform, this is an issue with strong bipartisan support. For example, the Senate passed comprehensive immigration reform on a strong bipartisan vote not too long ago. And just last week, a number of Republican members of the California State Legislature made their voices heard on this issue, and that's the letter to which you referred. They sent a letter to their federal counterparts urging us to take action in the House. These are Republican legislators from California on comprehensive immigration reform. I would like to ask unanimous consent to have this letter placed in the record.
Without objection.
This letter outlines components of comprehensive reform